What the is we doing?
All right, welcome back, everybody. Let me get my coffee, my spiked coffee. You know the same way they have spiked seltzer, we have spiked coffee.
Word. So much better.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the ideal routine. So this is specifically related to health and fitness, right? So we're talking on the fitness side of things today. So from my perspective and what I suggest, or not really what I suggest, this is kind of just more of like health and fitness professionals in the industry that have recommended throughout the years. Like from the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to sleep, like what is the ideal routine to essentially maximize your health, maximize productivity, and kind of just be in the best shape that you possibly can be, physically and also mentally and all other aspects of your life. So first thing is first, right? It's waking up in the morning. Like that's the primary thing because that's where we begin our day. So research and studies have shown that the best thing to do, ideally, is not to wake up with an alarm, right? If you can wake up just naturally by yourself, that'd be best. Usually having sunlight that can wake you up through, wherever you're situated, that'd be best. Because again, that follows the natural circadian rhythm or the natural patterns of, the sun rising and the sun going down and you waking up and going to sleep accordingly with that. So that's usually the best way to begin the day. But obviously, if the sun comes up at 3 or 4 in the morning, that's going to disrupt your sleep if you go to sleep at like 10 in the evening. So you wake up, the first thing you want to do is get sun exposure. So 5 to 10 minutes worth of it, like you will literally wake up, don't drink any caffeine, right? Like caffeine should be something that happens like 2 hours later, really. You wake up, immediately get some sunlight, get the body primed to just start moving and start getting energized. From there, if you can afford it, you work out, right? So you go from getting that sunlight exposure, getting that body acclimated to natural light, stimulating all the nerves and all the cells in the body to, wake up, to immediately going into a workout. Right now, I'm not telling you to go out for a run. You don't have to do that. That's not a bad idea, right? Because now you're getting more sun exposure and you're getting fresh air and all that. So that's always pretty good. But if you can't do that, then something at home would suffice. Or if you live near a gym, you can literally just go to the gym first thing in the morning, and then immediately just start working out. Get that blood circulating, get the muscles working, get everything going to prime yourself to actually start your day. Again, if you want to think of it more in the perspective of like going back to our hunter and gathering days, right? Like when you're a hunter, you don't just casually wake up and then, go get some coffee and then, go use the bathroom. And no, if you need to go hunt for your food, you're going to wake up and immediately go right into work, right? So that's kind of the perspective that we're taking here. So after the workout, we can go into a cold shower, right? And I know you like taking cold showers, right? That is something that will definitely wake you up if you haven't already been feeling awake by this point. That stimulates all of your body in order to just immediately wake you up. And that shouldn't take you any more than like 2 or 3 minutes, but nice cold shower, get everything cleaned after the good workout you did in the beginning. And after the cold shower, now is when you can actually have caffeine. So by this point, you should have already had like 90 minutes up to like 2 hours worth of movement and activity before you start introducing caffeine into the system. Now, it goes back and forth just simply because caffeine has this ability, or it has this aspect of not necessarily giving you energy, but just kind of reducing your level of fatigue, right? And if the day before you went to sleep and you didn't feel great and you didn't really have a lot of energy, drinking the caffeine isn't really going to give you that energy. It's just going to stave off the fatigue a little bit more, but it compounds over time. So sometimes one of the best things to do is actually just do a complete detox of caffeine before you reintroduce it into the system. But again, that can be another topic for another day. But yeah, now you can have caffeine. So you can have your cup of coffee if you want in the morning, usually black, right? Because if you start adding things like milk and sugar, that's going to spike the blood sugars and the glucose in the system, which is just going to give you this spike in energy, and then immediately you're going to crash. So rather than that, just drink straight black, and then you'll have this consistent flow of energy. After that, you can go about the rest of your day, right? So by this point, let's say you're waking up at like 5:30 in the morning. By this point, we should be at somewhere like around 8 a.m., right? And you should be getting, ready to go to work. If you're traveling or commuting to work, or if you're working from home, and getting your setup organized so that you're ready to work. And then obviously we're doing our 9 to 5, right? So from that 9 to 5, at some point in the middle period, obviously we're going to have lunch. But one thing that you want to do closer to the evening, like when the sun is going down, right? So probably like around 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., depending on where you're at, you actually want to go out and get more sun exposure. So there's a different type of light that's emitted in the morning compared to the evening when the sun is setting, right? So the sun rising and the sun setting emits different light frequencies, which we end up internalizing, and it makes us produce different signals in our body to kind of just help us relax. So in the morning, usually when we get exposed to sunlight, it'll have a tendency of spiking up things like cortisol, right? So that's our hormone to, stay more alert, to be more focused, to just kind of be on point with everything. Because again, going back to like the hunter-gathering days. Towards the evening, what ends up happening is that the body starts relaxing, right? Because the sun is setting, we want to go to sleep, we want to conserve energy. So getting that sun exposure more towards the evening, it's going to help upregulate melatonin in our systems, right? And melatonin is a supplement that people take to go to sleep. But when we're getting the sun exposure more towards the evening, it'll naturally help us produce that. And it'll start helping block off the effects of things like blue light exposure from like the screens that we have, and essentially just help fortify that we can actually go to sleep easier and more comfortably, as opposed to being stressed out before we go to bed. After that, we can probably have a dinner, right? Usually with the dinner, we want to make sure that we're not eating too late, simply because that disrupts the quality of the sleep. So we're looking at like 6 to 7 p.m., you're having your dinner, and then by 10 p.m., you should be going to sleep. So that last hour before bed, you shouldn't really be exposed to screens or technology. You should just kind of be waning off of everything, reading a book. We've talked about this before, right? Some sort of meditation, maybe like a stretching routine or some sort of something just to help you relax. And then by the time 10 p.m. strikes, you're out. And that's it. That's the day.
And
what do you think?
Yeah, and just to add something there, the sleep should be quality sleep, 7 to 8 hours straight for adults and even longer for like teenagers and children, like 10 to 12 hours. No, that sounds perfect routine, bro. And one thing that came to my head is like, once you commit to this routine, a lot of pieces start falling into it like perfectly. Like my routine sounds very similar to what you kind of like mentioned. So I can walk you through. I wake up with, I agree with you that you don't need an alarm to wake up, because once you do it this like so often, like, like once it becomes your routine, your body itself will start waking you at this hour or close to this hour. Because I have seen myself waking up like before my alarm, or my alarm actually, it's my lights. It just pops up. I have smart lights in my room, fancy. So in the morning at 5 a.m., it just like bright, like it just turns on and that wakes me up. But I do have an alarm as an emergency, like a 5:10, but I usually, by the time I'm already awake. So that I don't do the cold shower. I actually go straight to the gym. So I work out for an hour to hour and a half. Then I do the cold shower. I meditate. Drink my coffee. Once again, black. I skip breakfast. I don't really eat breakfast at all. And then at noon, by like noon, I start preparing my meal, lunch, go back to work. By 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., usually I just go out and read, do some readings. 7 p.m., that's my 7 to 8 p.m. usually is my dinner time. That's the time that I'm eating, cooking. Let's see, 8 to 9, I usually do some Duolingo. I usually do some sort of learnings, or just I need to do the reading and just be off my screen at that time, to be honest. I think that's the hardest thing in my routine that I cannot accommodate. Like by the time I go to bed, I do see myself being whether on my computer, on my phone, just doing something, just like preparing my next day. And by the time that I look at my watch, it's already like 10, and I should be by bed by there. So time to time, I see that sleeping on that end. It's hard. It's really hard. Trust me. And then I do have books like next to my bed. I try to read for like at least 10 minutes before I go to bed. And yeah, I struggle with insomnia. I think I mentioned that in the past. So for me, falling asleep usually do need some sort of music to fall asleep. Like on my phone, I have like this, like on YouTube, you find like music to sleep. So I usually end up listening to that for like a couple hours, and then I fall asleep. And time to time when I see that I'm in bed, like mind you, I'm off of screens, I'm nothing on nothing. And then I realized that it's about to be midnight and I had to wake up at 5 a.m. And then I take some melatonin because I do struggle with that. And once again, the sun part, when I wake up, the sun is not there until I come back from the gym. So I usually spend like some time drinking my coffee on the deck, and I'm chilling there. I'm just getting my sun. And then at night, I go and read on my hammock. So I'm just reading there and seeing the sunset, which is quite beautiful. Now the sunset is like 7, 8 p.m., but back in the winter, it was like 4. So it was pretty nice, 4 or 5.
Right.
But yeah, I think the routine that you explain is very, very, very ideal. Is it perfect? I think yes, but is it attainable? I think it's per people's lifestyles, people's routines, just the things that they have to do. If you have children, it changes. There are a lot of variables that have to play into like accommodating that routine that you just explained, or my routine, into their lives. Because I remember things used to be different when I had a girlfriend. It was a X factor that affected my routine. But at the end of the day, I tried to accommodate my routine and keep it the same way that it was in the before, when I was with her, and after. So not a lot of things change, but it definitely accommodates like few variables, like within the puzzle. What are your thoughts?
Right. So like again, I go back to it's a perfect routine, barring, life circumstances and, having a partner or whatever the situation is for the individual. Now, the idea is you take that routine, right, and then you try to shape it to your lifestyle. So you mentioned in the beginning, the first thing is getting that sunlight exposure.
Yes.
The sun isn't out when you wake up. So the next best thing you can do is get artificial light, right? So stuff from a lamp, stuff from a light bulb in the morning. There are specific lights, especially nowadays, that are meant to mimic sunlight, like just kind of the exact replicas of like what you would be getting from the sun, which you can kind of just change your light bulb or your lamp to.
Well, I'm curious about that. What's that like?
I don't know which one is specifically. Literally, just go Amazon, or you can Google like whatever kind of light bulbs are similar to the sun, or what can we do to get more sun exposure. What else? Right. The exercising in the cold shower. You did that right. It's exercising first, and then you take the cold shower, not the reverse. I was just mentioning if you can get a workout at home, like you can jump right into the cold shower right after. But that's one of the other things that you're going to have to probably move around, and depending on the individual and their life circumstances. Maybe they don't wake up at 5:30 in the morning, so they can't work out that early. what they'll end up doing is working after work, right? So they'll probably work out like at 6:30 in the evening. So that's fine, right? Like you can adjust and accommodate accordingly. But think of everything that I mentioned as like pieces in a puzzle. Like I organize it in a very specific way simply because it balances out like the different aspects of our body, right? Going back to like the circadian rhythm and matching like our system and our body with the sun rising and going to and sun setting, right?
Mhm.
If you can't match that exactly, not a problem. Do your best to shape things around and move the puzzle pieces around so that it accommodates your lifestyle, but try to adhere to like the ideal schedule as best as possible, right? Make the changes accordingly as needed, but again, you want to try to stick to it as consistently as you can, and then only move things that are necessary simply because your life just doesn't let you do that, right? Like you don't wake up at 5:30, you wake up at 7:30. You don't go to sleep at 10, you go to sleep at 11, or you go to sleep at 9, whatever it is. You have kids, right? So like they wake you up in the middle of the night, so it's impossible to get a perfect night of sleep. Like
Mhm.
there's things and there's variables that are not being accounted for here. Um, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to kind of figure out what it is that you can work with and what you can't, and then change things accordingly and then navigate the system as best as you can.
Absolutely. One thing that I want to mention also is like the seasons can play a huge factor. Like like the time change, whether it's summer or winter, that can also affect the routine. Because when it's summer, I take 2 showers. Like I take a cold shower in the morning and then a hot shower in the evening, just because like the whole day you're sweating, you're um you're nasty, you don't want to go to sleep like that. And usually, there's some benefits to each other. Like hot showers help you relax and help you be more distress you, wind down. So I definitely recommend hot showers if you somebody who takes showers in the evenings, and cold showers if somebody who would take showers in the mornings. Just because there's some different, and maybe we can dive into this in a future episode, cold showers versus hot showers, the benefits. But yeah, then in the winter, like the time changes and the day itself feels like a shorter day. So usually that changes also a lot on people's, they usually buy home like earlier inside. Whereas, in the summer, you want to hang out, you want to enjoy the weather, you usually tend to be out the house like later on the day because the sunset is until like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. So there's these little factors that played a huge role also. And it changes. Like my routine is not 20, like 100% like the same every like 365 days of the year. It changes, it varies. Like on the weekends, I don't have an alarm. Like I wake up at whatever time. I usually end up waking up between like 6, 7 a.m. just because my body's so used to waking up early. But then,
Mhm.
I don't go to the gyms on the weekend, so I end up doing something else, and it changes. Like the routine itself is good to have. And once again, the way that I see it is kind of like a puzzle. It's like I can accommodate these little things on my day. So if I didn't meditate on the morning, then I'm gonna meditate before going to bed. If I didn't read, like after work, I'm gonna try to read before bed. Or it's like it's puzzles that you can like shift in between days. I think what's important of a routine is that you don't skip it. Like whatever you have to do on the routine, try not to skip it as many times, because these habits that you have takes time to build. And when you start losing like 1, 2, 3 days, it accumulates, it compounds, that you actually end up losing this habit. And then you back to ground zero, and then you have to restart all this over again. The thing is important that whatever you do, so let's say if you're like me, you do Duolingo for like 10 minutes, try to do Duolingo for 10 minutes like every day. And that's the importance of like at least having a strike, like something that keeps you accountable for doing it. And don't mind me, I have done, like I have skipped few days that I have done it. So uh but yeah, as long as it's not for too long, you're gonna end up losing the habit. So it's important that you implement whatever you do in the routine at least once, or at least do
Right.
it every part
No,
of.
no, right. So like usually it's like 21 days. That's kind of the time frame it takes to start building habits. Like
Mm.
that's the first foundation. Then the second foundation is like 90 days, right? And then from there, things really start getting on cruise control, where it's just like, this is something that I do, right? Same way you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, kind of similar approach when it comes to doing stuff like Duolingo, waking up early, going to sleep on time, working out at specific times throughout the day, eating throughout the day at a certain period of time, right? Like these things just become your habit and routine, which then, again, that's what's going to help you build out a really structured system for yourself so that you're continuously doing the same thing, which will then in turn help you be more consistent with your health and fitness. Because at the end of the day, that's the ultimate goal, right? Like we're trying to build healthy habits so that you are at your healthiest at all times.
Right.
And then if things need to change and you need to adjust accordingly, you can do that. It's not necessarily a matter of like, this is the only way you do this. Again, life and life circumstances dictate different things, so you need to adjust accordingly. But as long as you're doing it as well as you possibly can, doing it as consistently as possibly can, you'll be fine. Yeah, I need some water. I'm out of this and I don't have any water.
So one thing that you mentioned there is adjusting to your lifestyle, and I think it's true. And the most important thing when you like building habits, whatever circumstance you are or you have, whether you have a partner, children, or whatever it is, or different, also like job, like if you work a night shift, that's fucked up. I'm sorry for people. I done it and it's crazy. But the most important thing is keeping yourself accountable. Whatever habit that you're trying to build, keeping yourself accountable is the most crucial thing. That's what worked for me. Like for me, going to the gym like 3 to 4 days, I actually had a whiteboard. Like in my whiteboard, I have like gym today, and then like putting the dots and lines, how many days I go in a week. And if I didn't go one day or I've missed it, I start from zero. And then you keep doing this and those, and you start building the credibility and keeping yourself accountable for the things that you're doing. And that works with a lot of things, like even meditating. That's why I started. Like, I had in my whiteboard, I have like meditated. And then, for each day, I have to like put a line if I did it, when not done it. And once again, like after you mentioned, like after 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, you start unconsciously kind of like building this habit. And there are things like the cold shower I've been doing since high school. And whenever I don't mind you, I do take hot showers. It's not cold showers every day. So if it's like an evening shower, I usually take hot showers, and I do like a longer period of time, like, I enjoy and chill. But if it's a cold shower, if you have ever taken a cold shower, you're going to realize that it's uncomfortable. But then after you do it for so long, like you become comfortable in the uncomfortable, and you'll start enjoying it, to be honest. Like, for weird as it is, like I actually enjoy cold showers more than hot showers. So it's a matter of keeping yourself accountable. And if you really want a new habit, like you actually gotta put the work on it, like anything else, to be honest. But it definitely has a huge impact on the lifestyle that you carry on and how you carry yourself too, because it gives you credibility that you are doing these things and you actually put the work to build these habits, But yeah, I think that's kind of like my input on like a routine. I think the perfect routine is there. It has the backbone of it, but it will adjust to your lifestyle and to your circumstances and the X variables that you have.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, just adjust accordingly, but as best as you can, try to adhere to it. Other than that, that's it, man.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Stay healthy, my friend. Boom. This is a conversation between friends.
None of what is said here should be taken as legal advice.
We are not experts in any way.
Take what resonates and leave the rest.